Welcome to the Town of Avon Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. If you're interested in having a copy of the agenda or the staff reports are available on the tables to the right of the audience. This meeting is being recorded for the public record. Because of this, we request that personal conversations are kept to a minimum and all cell phones are set to vibrate with any phone calls taken outside the chambers. If you are interested in commenting during any public hearing, please sign up on the sheets located on the tables to the right of the audience. When your name is called, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please address your comments to the board and not to the staff or the appellant. Your comments should relate directly to the case at hand. We do understand that there may be several persons who wish to speak. The chair may therefore impose a time limit for each person. Federal law requires that the town make available to all attendees a Title VI public involvement survey. These surveys are to the table to the right of the audience. Members of the public who wish to complete this survey may do so and place them in the designated area. If because of a disability, any person in attendance needs assistance or accommodation to fully participate in this meeting, please notify staff. Thank you for your assistance in facilitating a respectful, fair, and timely meeting. Again, welcome to our meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, please?
Marcus Turner,
Here.
Marcy Tashler. Here. Catherine Ransberg.
Here.
Ann Inman. Here. And we will show Paul Guggenberger absent.
First item is the approval of the minutes from April 15th. Sorry, I jumped a month ahead. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I'll move to approve the minutes of April 15th as drafted.
We have a motion by Mrs. Inman and a second by Mrs. Ransberg. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Meeting minutes are passed. Next item is request for continuances and or agenda modifications.
Thank you, Chairperson Turner, members of the board. We have petitions SE 2405 and VAR 2407, both pertaining to property at 7893 East US Highway 36. These petitions have been on the docket since December and have been continued previously 4 times, as staff has been working with the petitioner to try to resolve the issue with the larger Lowe's property that has never installed an access drive that was a requirement of their development plan approval approximately 20 years ago. And staff would like to see that matter resolved before any further development approvals move forward. We did have a discussion with the petitioner on June 2nd, and I think I could best describe it as that, well, the petitioner is working with the property owner, who is Lowe's. The petitioner is trying to obviously develop this portion of the property, but it's a little bit slow going, getting things to Lowe's and getting comments back and getting a clear understanding from their standpoint of what we're asking for, and understanding that it's a outstanding requirement, not something that we're asking just specific to this request. Having said all that, we did indicate to the petitioner that we would support at least one last continuance of this to hopefully give them time to put together a proposal that would satisfy our desire to get this requirement for an access drive between the Lowe's property and Vista Parkway, to get that settled before any further development would be approved on the property. And we indicated to the petitioner that we would support a continuance either to your August or September hearings. The petitioner did not state a preference, but given the limited progress that we've seen to this point, we would suggest that if you only want to hopefully continue this one more time with the hopes that they'll actually be ready to move forward the next time you see this on your docket, that it would probably be more advisable to continue this to your September 16th hearing. And that would be, we would say that would need to be with additional notice required.
So is the problem getting Lowe's to just step up and work with the petitioner to get this thing resolved? Are they just dragging their feet because they don't care, or?
Well, I think I can fairly state that Lowe's initial position was that they indicated that they didn't know that this outstanding requirement was hanging out there, and then after being shown that that this was a legitimate request that the town is trying to resolve, their position was that they didn't want to agree to make that connection between their property and Vista Parkway.
Even though it was required when they when they got approval for that development.
Right. I can't say as to whether that their position would be that they agree with the town that it was a requirement. We think it's pretty clear that the records show that it was a required part of their development plan approval. But they have expressed some pushback in that they're concerned about traffic using that and cutting through their property.
Has Lowe's Legal been brought in on this?
I don't know
That's a
who
question
at
for Dan.
Lowe's has, I don't know what their positions are. Mostly we've been talking with the petitioner, who's Pavilion Development Company, who would be the one developing the Dutch Brothers coffee establishment that's proposed. They're working with Lowe's. We did have someone from Lowe's team on at least one of our calls. I don't know what their position was, or what their position with Lowe's was.
You know, the petitioner here is, they're trying to do something, and they've got the property owner holding up the train. Would it not be fruitful for staff to pursue an enforcement action against Lowe's?
That's where I was thinking too.
Yeah, and that would be something that staff would probably be more likely to do if this petition were to no longer be on the docket. But with this request pending, it was our opinion that it would be potentially a better solution for both the town and the property owner if we could come to some agreement through this process and not have to, go through a legal enforcement process that
So
would
this
probably be
is,
more costly for both parties.
so the property is owned by Lowe's,
Correct.
and they're the ones who, I'm assuming, approve the development of this particular proposal. I mean, it's on their property, so I'm assuming that they gave it the thumbs
Yes,
up.
they've given consent for this filing.
But they don't want to follow through not only on making it possible for this to happen, but to also comply with the previous obligations that they had.
And I don't want to speak too much for someone who's not here, but I mean, I can, as I mentioned.
That's what it sounds like.
Their pushback was that they were concerned about traffic using the connection from Vista Parkway as a cut through and
Well,
safety
but that
for
should have been
their
addressed however
customers.
many years ago. Yeah.
And has the town made it clear that they would rather see this be resolved as part of a package deal as opposed to an enforcement action?
Absolutely.
Okay, and Lowe's doesn't care.
I
Lowe's has not
can't-
been responsive to that.
I don't think I can answer that
Okay.
question for you.
Mr. Taylor, I'm assuming you're not involved yet.
No, but yeah, we faced this before a couple times in exactly the same situations where you have a really large box. They plan to develop the outlots at some future date, And then this connectivity issue comes up because of the internal flow. So in the DPR approval, which looks like it was in 2000, it seems to me that what we could do, and this really goes to a plan commission issue, the DPR, is we could send them a letter saying, look, we have an application for development here, and that means that you have to allow that connection. Let us know if you are going to allow the connection, or whether you are going to try to amend your DPR approval, and just lay those options out for them. Put it on Lowe's to do one or the other. And then as it relates to this particular, it should not be our position to do the work for the petitioner here, but it's a whole different issue, and it's a whole different body who would enforce it. It really would not involve the BZA, it would involve the Plan Commission to authorize any sort of enforcement. But I think giving Lowe their option, which is to comply or try to amend their DPR, and then make their case to the Plan Commission about the amendment of their development plan. But these things are complicated because somewhere in this process, Dutch Brothers and Lowe's have made some agreement. We're not party to that, and we don't know what it says. So I think the best way to do that would be maybe to suggest to Lowe's that we expect them to comply unless it gets modified, and then see what happens.
Does that require a demand letter from your office or a demand letter from the town manager, or?
The planning staff can just communicate that, and they usually wouldn't bring us in until the Plan Commission authorized a formal enforcement.
Oh, okay.
You're right, litigation, yeah.
Initiate pre-litigation communications of some kind.
Yeah, but I mean, our staff has communications like this all the time, and they can do that, and they can do
People don't pay attention until there's something on legal letterhead. And then they go,
sometimes.
oh, they're serious.
Sometimes.
And it's obvious that Dutch Brothers is hanging on here and being very patient. Is it clear to them that these things have to happen for us to consider?
Clear to Dutch Brothers, you mean?
Yeah.
Linda.
Do they understand the
I've
seriousness of?
I've tried my best to make that clear, both through what's written in the staff report as well as the conversations that we've had. I know Linda had a conversation with one of the representatives of Pavilion Development who would develop the Dutch Brothers establishment last week while I was out of the office. And that kind of goes to the point I was making, that even though we've made this clear, and it should be clear from their receiving and reading of our staff report, that there seemed to be some lack of clarity on their end that this was a requirement that of their development plan approval from 2000. And maybe they were confused because the town hasn't taken enforcement action over the last 25 years. But
So somebody at Lowe's didn't do their due diligence and make sure there wasn't anything outstanding that would interfere with this contract between the petitioner and Lowe's.
I was just going to say, this issue, we went through a similar process the town did back in 2006. I don't know if any of us, I certainly wasn't involved. But back in 2006, Lowe's tried to create an outlot there similar to what they're trying to do now to develop a Steak and Shake there. And went through the same process with the town saying, we want you to take care of this outstanding obligation to create this access point to Vista Parkway. Lowe's didn't want to do that. They proposed an alternative of trying to get an easement through, I believe it was Church Brothers Collision at the time. Is it Church Brothers now still?
It's something else now, but.
Okay.
it was
Caliber.
church.
Yes, it went from Church Brothers to Caliber. So they actually got So they actually did try to amend their development plan approval at that time in 2006. And the commission granted an approval, but it was subject to them actually gaining the access easement and providing that within 30 days, which never occurred. So then their amendment to their development plan approval was void at that point.
So 6 years after their original development plan approval, they were aware of this. And
Right.
they have, and going forward, they've just never followed through on it.
And there was some,
And never had, and then the town just never followed through with an enforcement action.
and I found some letters in our files subsequent to that action where the town was still making requests for them to follow through with doing the approval. There was some back and forth and it just dropped off at some point. I'm not sure why it didn't get continued further, but.
It
no,
seems like a lot of time and energy between 2006 and now has gone into Lowe's and the outlot. And I think we have to take a stand or we'll be spending more energy on it.
I don't object to one more continuance, but I do think, and I don't know if Mr. Taylor could provide the legally, the language that uses, the legal mom voice and says, you have to do this, that staff can use. I mean, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but it just seems like either they just don't care or, well, we haven't had to deal with it in 25 years, so we're not going to deal with it now. I mean, they've had, what, 2 proposals for outlots in 25 years?
Well, and I can comment that I know last week in Linda's communications with the petitioner, she did make it clear in an email that the town does expect this matter to be resolved, whether or not the Dutch brothers, it gets approval to go in or not. So it should be clear now. I feel like it should have been clear earlier, but I would say it certainly should be clear to them now that it's an issue that needs to be resolved one way or the other, regardless of whether they get approval to do an outlot here.
I would agree with that.
I would just request that, the BZA, the only action the BZA can take is whether to continue this matter. The enforcement of a DPR is Plan Commission. And so, and some of you may be on both, but that doesn't mean we can do it here.
Right.
Okay, so I just think that, I think staff knows what to do, but as it relates to the pending petitions, I think what staff is telling the petitioners here is you're not likely to get this approved till you figure this road issue out. They've communicated to Lowe's it needs to be done too. So those things, those 2 issues will have to kind of go on. But in the enforcement side is Plan Commission. Plan Commission would have to take action on that. And again, I would just think we have to try to just remember which meeting we're at and deal with one thing at a time.
Sounds like a good topic for the next Plan Commission meeting.
How many continuances?
Well, yeah.
Is there a limit?
There
We
are,
continue to get more than
Have we
we,
exceeded that yet? Or?
they're allowed 1 and then any future ones are in your discretion. Staff is requesting this one. So they have a little more time to get this issue worked out.
I don't mind. I don't mind the continuances. This is not the petitioner's problem per se. I just, man, we got a third party out there. He's holding stuff up, and that's not a good precedent to set.
No, I agree. I don't object to one more continuance and, I
I'd
know
like to see
staff.
us later, September.
September, yeah, and, I know staff is going to be as forceful as they can be, both with the petitioner and with Lowe's, to say, this is what needs to happen, and this is what the consequences will be if it doesn't happen for both parties. And I don't mean, it's the petition won't be approved. And if Lowe's wants to develop this, they're going to have to do what they need to do. And Dutch Brothers will find someplace else to build in Avon, I hope. So, yeah,
Don't you?
I don't know.
That's what
They're not here.
I think they wanted to just dry up and blow away. I used to work in the hardware industry. This is tough.
Well, when the petition comes to you, you have two petitions before you, one for a special exception and one for a variance. And when the petitions come before you after a continuance, you of course will be obligated to hear the facts presented that night and then decide what you want to do on these. Staff can communicate what they think you will do, but I would not want you to say tonight what you might do later.
Fair enough. I move that we approve the request for a continuance. And should we do 3.1 and 3.2 together? Because they're the same, it's going to be same action, correct?
Yes.
I would move that we approve the request for continuance for SC 24-5, Dutch Brothers Coffee, and VAR 24-07, also Dutch Brothers Coffee, to the September 19th meeting? 16th meeting.
A motion by Mrs. Ransberg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Inman. Any discussion?
Could I ask?
Yes.
I think that staff's recommendation was also, in addition to the continuance, to require the petitioner to provide notice of that hearing once again at that time. Would you be willing to have that to your motion?
Yes.
And Ms. Inman, would you be?
Yes.
Okay. We're ready for a vote.
Inman,
4.
Ransberg,
4.
Tashler, Turner.
4. We are continued. Next time is public comment. Would anyone like to speak? I don't see anybody wanting to speak, so any other business?
So I have an announcement that we don't have any cases for the July 15th meeting. And since you didn't continue this to that meeting, then we will not have any business for July. We potentially could for August, so we'll be in
I will
touch.
not be here in August, but
Okay.
just FYI.
I may not be here in August either. I'll check that out before I leave.
It's August 19th.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.